I started getting into meditation and I was using marijuana. And oh my gosh, marijuana was better than the morphine, better than the hydrocodone, the oxycodone, and all the pain pills. Hey, welcome back to Uncivilized Rebirth. This is a place where I share the crap I've learned over 42 years about healing and the things that I've been through and tools and techniques to help you in your life if you want. Totally your choice. Today I'm going to read you a narrative that I wrote. I don't know, maybe back in 2016, 2017, and it was for a med board I was going through because I had transverse myelitis and I was being medically retired from the Alabama Army National Guard as a staff sergeant. And so this narrative explains what I went through as I got sick. And then I'm going to wrap up with the end assessment from a doctor at the director of the Spinal Injury Cord Program at UAB in Birmingham, Alabama. Here we go. This was at Camp Shelby, June 10th to June 16th, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. It was I was there for 6 days, I think, maybe longer. On or about June 10th of 2015, I began to feel a strange sensation in the bottom of my feet as if I was walking on gravel. At the same time, I had numbness in my feet going up to my calves and evenly on both sides. This progressed fast, daily, up through my waist, abdominal region, to my rib cage, and up my right arm. It felt like dead weight moving around or sleeping, or everything was asleep. Running was painful because I could not feel where I was putting my feet. This was when we were on squad live fire range doing the crawl, walk, run phase. After the final run, I sat down for an hour and a half. I got up to go get some gear, and I had severe difficulty walking. By the time I got back to my vehicle, 3 or 4 people had asked me if I was okay. Next morning, I woke up early, like the squared away soldier I was. I realized my legs were a hot mess, but I made it to the latrine. I shaved, but I was leaning against the lavatory, barely standing. So I head back to the barracks using all my focus to walk. I looked like I had sea legs. This is a rough memory because this was the day that I was wheeled into the hospital. So I walked back and I could barely walk. And my platoon sergeant, he told me to go to sick call. And I had tears in my eyes when he told me that because I was like, I had a squad. I was going to go lead them and I could barely walk. But I had my gear on. I was going. I was like, F it. They're going to have to make me stop. And he told me to go sick call. I was like, oh, man. Like, I didn't say that, but I had tears. There's a lot more details. So, Forest General, June 16th to July 2nd. This was still in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Then I was sent to Forest General. As soon as I was taken to an exam room and explained what my symptoms were, a nurse said, let's test for Guillain-Barré syndrome. So they did x-rays, had blood drawn, MRI, spinal tap, urinalysis, and 1 or 2 other tests. By the end of the day, I had been admitted to Forest General Hospital. That was day 1 of 16-day stay. Once I had a room, I had lost all ability to walk. I was given a red wristband that indicated a fall hazard. I could not get up to go to the bathroom or bathe myself. At this time, they started on a 5-day treatment, and I had great results. 2 days later, I crashed again. I think it was IVIG, meaning I lost control of my legs and my core and a messed up right arm. So they started on my second round of a 5-day treatment, of IVIG. I had great results again. Arrangements were made for me to go to Rotary at Mobile Infirmary. That is an in-house rehabilitation clinic. So basically, I had transverse myelitis, but they were treating me for Guillain-Barré. So it was like kind of getting good results from the treatment, and then I would crash again. So, July, I get sent to Rotary Rehab. I was checked in and more tests and also an MRI and nerves test where they stick long needles in your muscle to send a small charge to activate the muscle. The night of the 3rd, I woke up with severe shivers and a fever. Also, my chest had gotten so tight I felt my breathing was impaired. Also, all my other symptoms were back. With Guillain-Barré, the big threat is losing control of your diaphragm. Then you have to be put on a ventilator. They brought several different teams in to check me and decided to admit me to the ER. This way they could monitor me closely. From here, I'm in the ER. After a day in the ER, Dr. Blankety Blank, a neurologist, came to talk to me. He told me I had been misdiagnosed at Forest General and that I have transverse myelitis, which is a neurological condition in which the spinal cord is inflamed. Also, that I had a cyst in my spinal cord below where the transverse myelitis was. Dr. Hennis started me on a solumedrol drip treatment for transverse myelitis, and it went very well. Mobile Infirmary. I was admitted to This was still July. I was admitted back to Mobile Infirmary, or I went from the ER to the hospital area. I was admitted to Mobile Infirmary from the ER to finish up the treatment of solumedrol drip. This is a strong steroidal anti-inflammatory. This was to reduce the swelling in my spinal cord. I may have to cough. This treatment went the best. I was back up and walking around with considerable effort. This is what the doctor told me before I was discharged. This may be the year you had transverse myelitis, or things could go to hell in a handbasket. I was discharged and sent home. Okay, I was sent home with 9 different prescriptions, with no specific instructions on taking the medications. Gabapentin is a nerve medication that is very important in treating the nerve pain of transverse myelitis. It is a medication that you cannot stop taking. Insurance would not cover the name brand, so we had to get a prescription for the off-brand. So I went a couple of days without the nerve pain medication. Right off the bat, I started having skull-crushing pain for hours on end. No pain meds worked. Then I started losing the ability to walk and started hunching over. One night, my entire upper body kept twisting to the left real hard due to some nerve problems. Also, this is the time that my jaw would feel like it was ripping down my spine and my teeth were popping. Nerve damage is quite an adventure. I had lost the use of my right arm and hand, also my torso and entire body. And throughout, always the feeling of tight rubber bands around my chest constricted me when I would breathe. I decided to go back to the hospital. I'm going to drink some coffee. This was an excruciating adventure. I think I might have thought I knew what pain was, but this reset my threshold for pain and gave me a new, intimate, deep understanding of what pain really is. Well, then there's pain of the heart and pain of the soul. While I was being admitted to the ER, my right arm curled up to my chin and was tucked into my chest, and I was losing control of my left arm. Needless to say, my legs were useless, and I was looking at everybody sideways. So they get me in an ER exam room, and the doc has given me the cursory rundown, and I told him about the skull pain I was having and the headaches. So the guys shine bright lights into my light-sensitive eyes. This triggered a horrible nerve pain, migraine, headache thing. Man, they do some things that just make it worse sometimes, honestly. All I could do in my crippled state was curl up and cry. Now I have this horrible pain going on. He kept asking me questions, but I could not answer, so I eventually he eventually left, I guess, because I was like in such a severe amount of pain. I was just like effed up, just like curled up crying. And he's like, "What about this?" Well, it's like, I'm freaking debilitated to the umpteenth degree, bro. This was day 1 of what I called Hell Week. They gave me some medicine that did not help the pain, so they gave me morphine. That helped, and they started me on solumedrol drip again and an IV. These went solid for 6 days. I was given morphine almost every 3 hours for 6 days. I could not walk. I did not use the bathroom for 6 days. Solumedrol makes your body retain water and gives you an appetite. Also, morphine locks the bowels up severely. I had this skull pain slash migraine consistently for this 6 day period. It may have been longer, though I went in the beginning of Hell Week weighing 183, and at the end I weighed 216 pounds. Then they gave me a drug that made me urinate all the time. Within 3 days, I was back to my normal weight. It was like effing crazy. Like, I think it was malpractice also. The doctor said I need to do rehab. We found a transverse myelitis clinic in Birmingham at UAB. It was joined by a rehab clinic called Spain. So there's a Spain rehabilitation clinic just for like getting the body working again. And then they opened up this transverse myelitis clinic there also. It's like the third in the nation. So I was like extremely blessed that it opened up because I was in Mobile, Alabama. So only had to go 3.5 hours. Thankfully, I was able to get it transferred to Spain. Rehabilitation. On the day when I was to be discharged, the worst of my head pain came on. So I went through the process of being discharged, put in a vehicle, and riding in the blazing sun in the summertime. Good times. So I get to Spain rehab at UAB. Once there, I was put in a pretty intense rehab program. I was doing 1.5 hours of physical therapy and 1.5 hours of occupational therapy in the morning. Then the same again in the evening, except occupational was 30 minutes shorter. Here, they tweaked my medication specifically to my needs over the course of 12 days, and they gave me another spinal tap. When I arrived, I was not able to walk, and when I left, I could walk with a cane and a walker, and they also sent me with a wheelchair. My entire stay, I was in a wheelchair, being a fall hazard, and they had an alarm on my bed, because like sometimes I'd start to do better, and I'd like get up and I'd hobble over to the mirror, to try to shave or something or brush my teeth. And the nurse would come in and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, it's like, and then they're like, "We got to set the alarm in your bed." It's like, well, I'm tired of being in this effing bed. I've been in here for like months. Okay, so I was discharged, was doing better. Once I got home, I started outpatient physical therapy and occupational therapy. That lasted 8 to 10 weeks, I believe. During this time, I had up and down days. Sometimes I could barely do anything, and other days I was able to do well. I was discharged from there because all the PT and OT would not do good for the damage and swelling to and in my spinal cord. They gave me many core exercises to do at home, and I have been doing them. I wrote this several years ago. The reason for that is that I have been having some gnarly back pain since I have been home. Also, my back muscles cramp crazily bad if I stand for more than 10 to 15 minutes. Also, since I have been home, I've had 3 seizures. They took place 1 month in late November, early December, over the course of a week. Now I'm going to go to a neurologist who specializes in seizures. I am going to be admitted to the USA hospital for 3 days. They're going to try and recreate the seizures. Leads will be connected to my scalp, and that will feed information to a computer on where it is originating from. This is the new test, so maybe it will shed some more light on my case. Still, currently, I have numbness in my right arm, around my chest, and tightness, and random nerve pain and seizures. This was like 2016, early 2016 time frame. So then I have another letter here at the end of all that. It was from Kanishla Kersley, MD, Director, Spinal Cord Injury Program, Assistant Professor in Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation, to whom it may concern. This was July 27th, 2015. Mr. Paul Miller has a history of transverse myelitis, which has resulted in loss of movement and sensation in his lower extremities and torso since June 2015. As a result of his condition, Mr. Miller is wheelchair-bound and requires assistance with most activities, including bathing, dressing, mobility, and toileting. Given the severity of his condition, it is likely that at least some of his deficits will remain permanently. Any questions regarding Mr. Miller's diagnosis or prognosis should be forwarded to my office. Not going to tell you the number. Okay, so I was jacked up. I'm going to drink some more coffee. This disease, when they did an MRI when I went to Spain, I had 9 dead spots in my brain. And they called it footprints. So we can see where this disease has been. And that happened. So fast forward to 2017, and I also get diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. That was like a whole nother bag of beans. Like right when I got pretty solid again, like I got hit with another mofo. I was like, what the crap? Okay, coffee. Okay, so there's several more parts to this story. The seizures, I'll tell that in another video. But I want to talk about my healing journey. So I get home, I'm still jacked up. I have spinal cord damage because transverse myelitis is a swelling in the spinal cord, and it swelled so much it damaged my spinal cord. And the way the doctor explained it is like you have potholes in the highway that sends the signals to your body. So the signals are going and they can't go. And they just are jacked up. So, and also I had spots in my brain that had been destroyed from this disease as well. And that just destroys spots in the brain where there's functions that need to function. Signals are sent from, and it's just like not happening. So I was jacked up severely, hardcore. And so I'm going to summarize this, and then I'll have another video that maybe goes into more detail, but this might be enough detail. I started getting into meditation, and I was using marijuana. And oh my gosh, marijuana was better than the morphine, better than the hydrocodone, the oxycodone, and all the pain pills. When I finally got home and I started doing the outpatient OT and PT, I was on 12 or 13 different medications. Some of them I was taking 2 to 3 times a day. And there was something in me that was like, this is wrong. Like I shouldn't be taking this many medications. And I didn't like it. Like I did not like taking that many medications. I was like, this is stupid. But I kept doing it. And I started smoking weed, and I started listening to this guru out of India who taught about the human body, taught about meditation, and he had these guided meditations that were really transcendent, I guess. And also, I didn't know it, but I had learned to go into a meditative state when I was in the hospital, when I'd be in so much pain. Basically, I would get to this detached state of my body where I was there, but and the pain was going on, but I was totally disconnected, and I endured. And that's how I endured. I would just go to this state where I was just disconnected. And it's like, all right, how many days am I going to be like this now? And I would just hang out like that. Because it was basically torture. And the only way I could make it through was to endure. Like, that's it. That's all. So, started smoking weed. That freaking helped so much with the pain and so much with my movement. And I would, the first day home from the hospital, I did 5 push-ups and I walked 3/4 of a mile on my walker. And every day I was like, I'm going to work out. And so I'd like smoke weed, and I would go do the physical therapy. And I got to the point where I'd start going to the gym again. Granted, it was like everything I could to get there and just do the bare minimum, which was more than nothing. And I would tell myself, never give up, never surrender. And I started following this, and my wife at that time, she found this lady called Dr. Wall. She had MS. She was wheelchair bound. She got terribly bad. She researched all the latest research going on and tried all the new medications. And she stumbled upon like micronutrients and eating a buttload of greens, healthy, like leafy greens every day. And she started doing that. And lo and behold, like she recovered. She was able to walk, like full recovery from wheelchair bound to doing like 18-mile bicycle rides and such. Just total turnaround. And so I was like, well, I shall be doing that. So I go to salads 3 times a day. That's all I ate. I dropped more weight and I kept training and I kept smoking weed and or we'll say cannabis to make it sound official. And I was using cannabis and I was also doing meditations. And I started doing these healing meditations. And here's the really awesome part. So when I was in the hospital and they did MRIs, they would put this chemical in my bloodstream, and it was basically a molecule in there that reflected the imagery, or the waves being sent from the MRI reflected those back, so it'd see where it was in the body, but it'd be in the spinal cord, and they could see where the signals were going. And it's I think it was something like, I could be wrong, but it's like an isotope that spins or something. I could be way wrong. I probably am. So either way, I think it's called contrast. They put that in there, and there's no signals being sent. Like some, but there's barely any signals they could tell going through the spinal cord up top from like C1 to C5. So basically because of the damage. So then I go home, I start eating crazy healthy, like just crazy healthy, following the Dr. Wall protocol, start meditating, I'm exercising every day, doing OT and PT, and just like giving it my all to recover, because like I have this like deep, huge drive within me that just will not allow me to quit, because I have a bigger mission and I know what that is now, which is cool. So I'm doing these meditations and I'm eating super green and or super clean. That's green. Dang it, I didn't mean to do a rhyme. So I'm doing that, and I start doing these meditations where I use marijuana, I'd lay down, and I just kind of stumbled upon this. What I would do is I would focus and imagine the damaged spot in my spinal cord. And I would imagine what it looked like, and I would imagine the areas that were damaged. And then I would imagine all these little molecules, not proteins, but the micronutrients from the greens I was eating, going in and repairing the spinal cord damage. And specifically like this, and I would just imagine this, and I would do this for like 30, 40 minutes, multiple times, and I would just lay there and imagine it and focus on it. Well, during this time, I'm getting better. I'm getting better. I'm getting better. And also with the micronutrients in the greens, the thought process there is that like the body's always replacing and repairing everything. So if it's getting the good building blocks, eventually it's going to replace everything with good building blocks. And so I'm in this state of where I'm in a healing state, where I'm training and I'm just focusing on healing, focusing on walking, focusing on doing like exercising, meditations, and I'm getting better. I'm getting better. I'm getting better. And I get really better. Not 100%, but I get back to like 80, 82%, and it keeps increasing. So I go back, I get another MRI, because I'm at the point now where I'm like going like every 6 months or so to go to the specialist in Birmingham. And I go there and I get an MRI. Well, I might have had an MRI done in Mobile, and then they would send the results up there. That would help the process of the driving. And they see this MRI, and it shows that there's signals being sent now, that there's repaired. The damage that was in my spinal cord is now repaired, and all the signals are being sent. And I wasn't quite shocked. The doctors were just like, oh, this is good. They didn't act like this was amazing or anything. But in my mind, I'm like, dude, like this is amazing, because what I've been doing worked. So I truly believe it was a combination of exercise, meditation, cannabis, eating the leafy greens 3 times a day for like a year, like solid. Like that's all I ate. I refused to eat. Like on the weekends, I think me and my family would eat like a thin crust, gluten-free pizza from Costco, because we'd have family fun Friday nights. But other than that, it was like crazy clean eating. And I got to the point where I could walk and run again. Not like run crazy, but like I was easing back into that. So that was really cool. And I just wanted to share that because I don't think I am an isolated case. I think other people, if they focus and they get the right discipline and they get the right lifestyle and the right tools going on and the right mindset, like you can heal from a lot of crazy stuff. Probably in the next video, I'm going to go into the more in depth, maybe about what happened with seizures, about MS when I was diagnosed with that, how I healed from that also, or it could be a totally different video. I'm going to be done now. Roadhouse, Spiritual Hard.